Welcome to the program. I'm Ji-won Lee. Today I'm joined by Dr. Jae Koo, the director of the U.S.-Korea Institute at SAIS. We'll talk about the expected changes in North Korea's human rights situation. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
So let's start with North Korea's recent nuclear test rather. How do you think that's going to change Washington's stance on North Korea's human rights issues?
I don't think there will be a major unilateral changes, but the United States government will do what it can and where it can, probably in concert with other countries. Recently, 2 weeks ago, the United States has formally endorsed the EU and Japan-sponsored resolution at the UN Human Rights Council for the creation of a Commission on Inquiry for North Korea human rights abuses.
Some international organizations insist that there has to be an international commission of inquiry on North Korea. And do you expect that to be established in any time soon? And more importantly, do you expect that to be effective?
I believe it will be more effective than what we have now. We have a special rapporteur, a lawyer, and a parliamentarian, former parliamentarian from Indonesia. But that position only carries a limited resources and authority. If this Commission of Inquiry is established, we're not sure exactly what the language will be, whether it's a commission or a mechanism for inquiry. But once it is established, they will have a panel of experts, maybe 3 to 5 experts, with lots of resources, so much more resources than allocated to the special rapporteur on North Korea human rights. And so based on those findings, investigations, and then recommendations, it has a lot of leeway with the recommendations. It can go to the UN General Assembly. It can ask the High Commissioner, the Commissioner of Human Rights Council to work on behalf of their recommendations. And those recommendations could be as specific as referring this to the International Court of Justice.
And how soon do you expect that to be established?
I believe the vote will be held on March 22nd, and I believe that there are enough votes to pass it. It's not altogether sure how this process is going to go, whether there's going to be a formal vote or it will be just that there is a general consensus and therefore it gets passed. Now, the reason I think it will pass this year and not in the past is that we have Russia, China, and Cuba, the 3 countries that have always stuck up for North Korea. They've rotated out of the Human Rights Council this year.
So you're hopeful on that establishment?
I'm very hopeful. I'm most hopeful in the last decade.
Right. Okay, that's good to hear. And last but not least, some observers had high hopes that the Kim Jong-un administration, or the Kim Jong-un regime rather, will bring some class of change on North Korea's human rights situation. In your opinion, has there been any change on that front?
No. All of changes, whether it's economic, political, these are cosmetic changes, including, I suppose, his wife's dress hemline. I mean, these are all cosmetic changes. I think we forget that we're dealing with a totalitarian state. Totalitarian states are always at war with its own people. And when a state is at war with its own people, you have prisoners. And prisoners do not go to hospitals. Prisoners go to concentration camps, gulags, labor camps. And so this is a foundation for their political system. So you can't have improvement on these issues unless there's a systematic change in their political system.
So what's your response to all those experts who say that, oh, but he had Disney characters at performances, his wife is carrying Dior bags, and that's a sign of change for sure. What is your answer to that?
Yes, there are changes. When I was in Pyongyang in April, I've sensed that there's probably a little bit more relaxation. But again, you're talking about the cream of the crop, the elite of the elites. So among those elite people living in North Korea, you have a little bit more space. But that's how they get compliance. They don't want to be sent out, so they get compliance by treating its people harshly, and the people in Pyongyang comply because they don't want to be out of Pyongyang. And so the answer to your question is simply these are all cosmetic changes, and we have yet to see any real substantive changes on all fronts.
And what are some substantive changes that we can expect in the near future on human rights front?
In the human rights front, on our side, certainly with the passage of this commission on inquiry and the creation of a panel of experts to do the investigation, to go to places like Seoul and elsewhere and really have create a database of interviews with North Korean defectors, create a system to document the abuses, and to create a precedent so that when the recommendations are written, that we can take really concrete actions by member states.
Now that will be the start, right?
That will be the difficult start.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
That's all the time we have for today. With me was Dr. Koo of SAIS, Johns Hopkins University. You're watching Voice of America.